First blood or to the death?
Hail, fellow travelers. Tim from Secret Fire Books here with another Random Book Wednesday. This week's random book is The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. This is the first book of the Last Kingdom series, also known as the Saxon Chronicles or the Saxon Tales, which is a series of historical military adventure novels set during the Viking invasions of England in the latter half of the 9th century. It follows the life and adventures of Uhtred, son of Uhtred of Babenberg, the son of a Saxon nobleman who survives the slaughter of his family by invading Danes and is taken as a slave by the Viking warlord Ragnar, who eventually grows to like young Uhtred and adopts him as his son. This first entry in the saga is a coming-of-age story that follows Uhtred from his childhood to his early adulthood, focusing on his complicated relationship with his native Englishmen as well as the Danes who raised him. For you see, as a young man raised by pagan warriors, Uhtred idealizes the Viking lifestyle. He wants nothing more than to live a life of adventure on the high seas, fighting, plundering, and roistering until the day he dies. However, he also has a nagging sense of responsibility to his homeland, and after making a pact with a young, pious Christian king named Alfred, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, Uhtred finds himself fighting a war against his fellow pagans as a soldier of England. At the same time, Uhtred also feels a desire to return to his homeland, and discovers within himself a longing to reclaim his birthright, to take back Castle Babenberg from his traitorous uncle, who now serves the Danelaw. For as Uhtred is fond of saying over and over again throughout this book,
Destiny is all. Destiny is all. Destiny is all.
This was my favorite read from last year, and I think that only has slightly to do with the fact that I was already a huge fan of the Netflix series that's based on these books. Now, I will say that if you're getting into this totally blind, if you've never seen the TV series before reading this book, you might have some trouble getting used to it, because our main character, our first-person narrator, Uhtred, son of Uhtred, is not the most likable guy at all times. In fact, most of the time, he's kind of a jerk. He is this very brash, stubborn, pig-headed young man who just kind of brute forces his way through every situation he's put into, and I can see why that would really put someone off. All of his darker moments really take away from his more redeemable qualities, such as, you know what, now that I think about it, I can't really think of any redeeming qualities. But man, can he organize a shield wall. That said, even though I didn't always agree with what the character was doing, I did think he was a very complex character. More so than in the TV series, we really get to see Uhtred's internal struggle. We get to see how he feels, his conflicting feelings about the Danes and the Englishmen. And that compares very well with a greater theme of the series, the theme of Christianity versus paganism. Now, as a Christian, I will say that I think the Christians got a bad rap in this book. They're not always portrayed in the most positive lights. They're usually portrayed as these sniveling, cowardly weaklings who never get anything done and are only in it for the gold and the glory. But that said, I don't think the pagans are portrayed in a positive light either. But really, we're not here for character development or themes or anything like that. We're here for the bloody Viking action. And trust me, there's a ton of that in The Last Kingdom. If you can see here, there is a quote on the front cover by George R. R. Martin that says, "Bernard Cornwell does the best battle scenes of any writer I've ever read, past or present." I don't say this often, but I agree with George R. R. Martin. Bernard Cornwell really did his research on the various conflicts that took place during the Viking Age, and he ends up throwing the reader headfirst through Uhtred's point of view into these massive historical battles. And you just feel like you're there. You can hear the ringing of battle in your ears. You just feel the grit and the grime. It's a really amazing feeling that he's able to elicit with the action sequences in this book. Really, there's nothing else like it that I've read in any other action series. But that's all just my opinion. Let me know in the comments, guys. Have you ever read The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell? What did you think of it? And regardless, I hope you'll join me in my next random book review. Until then, as always, farewell, keep reading, and remember, destiny is all.